Alright guys, HyDra back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. With Esports World Cup fast approaching, Rostermania continues to get very interesting indeed, with further roster rumours over the last 24 hours as to what's going to be happening in a couple of weeks' time. But also, Kenny and Dashy turning the streams on after the World Championship win for the first time. Lots of thoughts from Kenny, especially on why Shotzzy was just such a crucial factor to their championship run. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, some sounds of COD champs, just really to look at some of the highlights again of this event, because there was just so much that happens at Dallas for the World Championship. Of course, the OpTic Championship run was the big one, but even like, let's say the first round, Thieves versus the Toronto Ultra, there was lots of support for Thieves, I thought, in that crowd as well. It was actually great to see just support from various teams. Of course, like, at the end of the day, even the guys with the Thieves jerseys on, maybe underneath there was an OpTic jersey, right? But, you know, it was cool to see it anyway, that there was support for multiple different teams at the event. Of course, the Toronto versus FaZe one was especially dramatic with the Scrappy versus Drazah stuff. So, I mean, look, the crowd was absolutely mega. Vikul was talking his trash, and yeah, in the end, the OpTic boys, they take the victory at the World Championship. This is kind of interesting as well. Champs Finals stats. So we saw some of these yesterday. There were, I think there were a couple of changes really, so to the numbers. But anyway, just look at them real quick. So Simp still tops the lot with a 1.19. Kenny actually had a 1.13. HyDra had a 1.12. This is like average stats in finals this season of the players that made the finals, of which there are quite a few on this list. So yeah, Simp definitely will be sitting there thinking, all right, what do we do for next season if you're Atlanta FaZe? Because in his first 4 years of his career, he was in the World Championship final every single time. Last year they were third, and I wouldn't say they blamed Slasher precisely, but I guess the feeling was that, well, you know, they've been in the grand finals every year. Last year it was third place. They decided to make a change for Slasher, and sure, Drazah made more sense on paper. There was a feeling that, wow, this team is going to be unbeatable, but for various reasons, the team didn't deliver the results that it was expected to, and maybe they may well be forced to keep the same team for the World Cup. But after that, there are serious questions, and I'm sure that Simp is looking at his season and thinking, well, you know, maybe we've got to do something about this. It's not like aBeZy was good in finals either this year. He actually had a 0.88, Drazah with a 0.95, Cell with, I would say, only a 1.03. I mean, given that Cell is typically expected to be a standard 1.2 whenever he plays, his finals KD being the 6th highest of the season is maybe, you know, definitely is somewhat surprising. There was this as well real quick. So here's Jerica, who's Simp's fiancée. They live together, of course, now in the house that they built a couple of years ago. And, well, here's Jerica and Simp having a bit of back and forth on, like, the closets they're going to design and all this. So, okay, whatever you think about the closets. What I found interesting was Ghosty here in the replies, because there's obviously been some speculation over the last few days what's going to go on with FaZe. And if they are going to change out Drazah, if they are going to change out even Cellium, I mean, like, look, let's be real, I don't see the Tiny Terrors splitting. To be honest, going into this season, I thought it would be very unlikely if even that trio was to split up, but now all of a sudden it's possible. I know that JoeDeceives on the flank, he's been talking for some time about, you know, maybe changing out aBeZy, whether that could be a good or a bad idea, but I don't really see that happening, because I'm just like, who do you get instead? Like, how do you try and upgrade from aBeZy? It's very difficult. I mean, there's only a couple of SMGs in the league that play anything like aBeZy, one of which is CleanX, who's probably not quite as consistent as aBeZy is, and are you going to get him off Toronto? Maybe, maybe not. Like, if you're Simp, you're looking at CleanX thinking, well, he's an upgrade on aBeZy. There just isn't really an upgrade on aBeZy. So, you know, and you can say the same for Cellium to some degree, but in terms of like play style, I think you can argue that Cell can certainly be more impactful, and that's why there's been other players thrown into the conversation, right, as to not even the Drazah convo, but also the Cellium convo, as to whether someone else could come in. Ghosty, of course, is the man who will be linked to a number of these teams, simply because he's been the best player outside of the top 4 teams this season, right? And to be fair, at the end of the season, Thieves actually got top 4, right? FaZe were top 6, and Thieves were the team that got in there. Ghosty again was their best performer. It's not like he was the only man doing damage. I mean, the entire team played well and deserves credit, but Ghosty was leading the charge for that Thieves team over the last, you know, several months really, and in the same way that he was in some parts for OpTic last season, right? And I think the Thieves were getting a lot of support from the crowd in Dallas, largely because Ghosty was previously a part of OpTic, and you know, they were definitely still enjoying that part of the gameplay experience. So Ghosty's been linked to a lot of teams. Obviously he's not going to go back to OpTic, but Toronto, Subliners, and certainly FaZe will have to think about it, because if you are making a change from an AR perspective, you look down the league and you say, yeah, Ghosty's the man to get. Now, he will be contracted to Thieves. There would be a buyout in place, and Thieves will absolutely not want to lose Ghosty, because let's say someone else wants him. Thieves are saying, look, we've got more money now, we're going to continue the rebuild. And if I had to guess, I would say that Ghosty probably stays on Thieves. That seems sensible for both parties. But if Ghosty gets a better offer from a better team and they're willing to buy him out, you know, Thieves are going to be like, well, we can't force him to stay necessarily, especially if, let's say, there was a discussion with FaZe. So anyway, Ghosty's in the reply, talking, you know, at Simp heated floors too, and then Simp hits the replies, and Ghost is like, my bad, MVP. So just a bit of a back and forth. I'm not going to say that anything crazy in this, but just one to watch out for, right, this whole Ghosty Simp dynamics, because if they continue to not chirp at each other, but if they continue to chat a little bit on the timeline, then people will continue to speculate about whether there's anything in that for next season and beyond. Just quickly on this, because yesterday, like, I was so shattered after the flight back. I mentioned this tweet, like, I put this tweet up from Clay, and then I just forgot to talk about it. I talked about this one instead. But anyway, Clay was pretty much talking to Standy, saying, you know, if you didn't have rocks in your head, you could have been with me this year, implying that Standy had opportunities to team with Clay, but instead they went down a different angle, and, you know, unfortunately for Standy, that didn't work out rather well. Then again, though, Clay, of course, also out of the league as it stands. He did tweet this out, I think, before deleting it, on getting to the World Cup, right? As he says, get me on a team, godlike at 1 million plus tournaments, played well on LAN all year. So, yeah, we'll see where can he go. I think the problem might be for Clay is that the options were a Challengers team, but that's kind of impossible, because if you wanted to be on a Challengers team, you had to literally play at the World Championship for Challengers a couple of days ago, or be on a Pro League team. But I think the issue is the roster deadline has maybe come and gone now for the likes of Boston. Obviously, Ravens got rid of Clay, Vegas, and then the Minnesota Rocker that didn't make it to the World Championship. Speaking of Vegas, this is going to be their team. So Geo attached Nero, that stays as is, and then Fame is coming in from the Los Angeles Guerrillas to round out the team. So Johnny can't attend, he's dealing with a health issue, hopefully all's well over there, but Fame is the man from Guerrillas stepping in to complete the job. So is this team going to be better or worse than the previous version with Johnny? I don't know. Were they better, Vegas, than they were maybe showing themselves to be at the end of the season? Possibly, but I'm not sure this team's going to do that much damage. I will say I still like this core 3. Nero will be, however, a crucial free agent this offseason. We're pretty sure he's going to be a free agent. There's a possibility Vegas have an extension on him. But knowing the way that Vegas operate, it is quite likely that they will let everyone be a free agent, because they'll have to pay them a salary for a couple of months and see who's left come October, effectively. So I think Nero is likely to end up on another team, because he's one of those players. I'm not saying he's going to go to FaZe, but I'm saying if you are a top team looking at changing your SMG line, Nero is probably the #1 free agent to look at from an SMG perspective. Certainly right up there on the way that he played this season, and just how difficult it is to get players in that specific role. Finding ARs, you know, dime a dozen, but you know, good SMG players, that is a challenge, and a challenge for a reason. Nero, sure, he's going to make mistakes, he's going to be sometimes inconsistent, but when he's on, he's seriously on, and you know, an exciting player to watch, because if he plays well at the World Cup, I'm sure there'll be interest shortly afterwards when Rostermania really kicks off, because this is one part of Rostermania now when a few teams are making moves and there's questions on what teams are really plotting, because even if FaZe go to the World Cup with their same roster they currently have, doesn't mean that over the next couple of weeks they can't be considering what may potentially be happening next. But last night, some of the OpTic boys, they turned the stream on. Priestahh and Shotzzy, they already went live. Yesterday, though, was the first time that Dashy and Kenny went live. This I thought was pretty hard to hear from Dashy. Here they are in the Hex quarters, of course, back again after you know, making that move over again from the Hex headquarters, basically in the heart of downtown Dallas. And yeah, here's Dashy with the World Championship trophy. I don't know if they get to keep it, right? Like, do they get to keep it, or do they like rent it for the year or whatever, right? Because, you know, I think the World Championship trophy back in the day, there was just one. I don't know if they'd like engrave it, but you got to hang around with it and enjoy the trophy for a little while, and then it would go back, and then next year's winner would win that. But I think maybe they get to keep this one, which is probably what it should be, to be fair, in the first place. But you know, anyway, Dashy's absolutely loving life. I wanted to share a couple of clips, certainly from Kenny, on the Shotzzy effect in some ways, because Shotzzy was definitely a crucial factor to their run, and probably deserves more credit as a player than he actually gets. Sure, Pred deserves credit, I think, bringing some of the energy out of Shotzzy on some level, but just his level of play is something that very few other players can match, and his play style is very unique, I would say, in the entirety of the league. And, you know, you look at the MVPs of the season, you're looking at Simp, you're looking at Scrappy, you're looking at HyDra. The other player that was in that conversation during the season was Shotzzy, really, and then he went on to win the World Championship. So lots of things to argue on this guy.
Like, it's like Ant didn't even go to like normal school, he just went to COD school, bro. Or just gaming school. He just went to gaming school. Dun, 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 dun. That guy's awesome, like ninja mode, bro. That guy went 35 and 12 or something like that. That map. I don't think he called out once. He might have said 2 things that whole map. Like actually 2 things, like no bullshit. And literally ended the tournament and said, I might have said 500 words this tournament, and y'all said 15,000. I'm like, what? You're literally MVP. You guys not even calling out. Like that's just like that's one weird thing. Like Ant in flow when he like isn't calling out. I'm in flow when I'm calling out everything. Cause like not calling out, I start thinking too much. Like what the fuck going on? Do I need to look at this? Do I need to look at that? Like what the fuck, yo, you got this? Like I'm thinking in my head, do he got this? Do he not got this? Like I start tweaking. He's just in flow. He's just getting 2 pieces, and then he's not even saying a word. Like I get a 2-piece, I'm yelling dead, or I'm like shit on. Like I'm hitting something. He's just gone. He's just 2-piece. He just keep it moving. Good shit, Ant. Good shit. That's all. Good shit, Ant. And he's just going. He doesn't like when he lets out the burst. Like I feel like the burst at the end where he's standing up screaming is like all of it built in from that map. Like that makes sense. Like he doesn't get hype in the moment. He literally just like. I feel like the only time I've ever seen him get hype in the moment was when he like did the shit against like Caesar. But like him standing up and just hitting the Super Saiyan yell, I feel like that's just like all built up energy from that map. Bro, that's not. Yo, good shit, Ant. I'm telling you, that's it. That's all you say. Good shit. Crowd's going nuts. Like he's doing some insane shit. Some insane dolphin dive, go nuclear, hit this. I look like he's wall running, hit it, like, and he's not saying a word. You would think he was sitting in a corner the way he like is acting next to you.
So even Pred, of course, was looking at moments such as this, when this is a crucial moment, right, in that invasion, search and destroy to try and go up 4-1 in the series. Shotzzy kills HyDra, and then of course he takes down Skyz, who found himself last alive again. This when Shotzzy was standing up talking trash across the stage. I think it was, you know, one of these moments where OpTic probably realised they had the win, and there was no way that, you know, Subliners were going to be able to bounce back against this type of energy from this guy. So, it's like I said during the weekend, that the last time I'd seen this type of energy from Shotzzy was when they played and won Major 3 in Toronto. And I think when you look back at the season, you recognise that there was only one team really that was able to reach this type of level, and OpTic made it happen twice, right? Toronto Major 1 was an incredibly high peak performance. Compared to the other teams in the league at the time, Toronto were way ahead back at Major 1. But then the game changed to some degree. There was a new patch update. They changed a couple of things around. The map set started to change. Obviously, like Skid Row Hardpoint was gone and stuff like this, and Toronto were not able to replicate that same level. FaZe could get there largely on LAN, or online, sorry. They would get to those, 3-0ing everyone levels, and they did so on LAN as well. But of course, with FaZe come to the Sundays and multiple events, it's the same story happening again and again. Whereas OpTic were able to reach this type of level on 2 occasions, Major 3 and the World Championship, of course, winning both of them near the finals as well back at Major 2, which they didn't win. But when you look back at the season, you realise that, yeah, OpTic were, when they were at their best, I don't think any other team at their best was better than them, right? Like, the highest ceiling, certainly OpTic did not have the highest floor. I mean, the highest floor still belongs to FaZe. It's usually 3rd is their floor. But, of course, this event they were 6th. So, that kind of shatters that illusion maybe to some degree. And OpTic's floor was 12th. I mean, they literally placed 12th the event before the World Championship. And in terms of ceiling, that team of 4, when they were playing their best, was playing better than any other team that was put together this season, which again raises questions what the other teams have to do if they want to beat OpTic next year. Now, it's not like OpTic are unbeatable, but if you want to try and win again next year, if you're one of these other top teams, you may have to think, okay, we've got to improve if we want to beat OpTic, because the level that they hit was not attainable by basically any of the other teams. So I thought it was cool as well to see Puckett showing what happened behind the scenes during the event, kind of the TV direction of this, when they put together, the orchestra and the walkouts and the Dynasty stuff and everything like that. And, just spectacular to see. I wonder which one of these guys, if any, was responsible for the whole Keeks Darian, side by side, because I was talking back to people at the event about that, like after the fact, and someone was like, oh, I guess it was only up there for like 10-15 seconds. I swear they were up there for like a whole minute. I don't know how long that segment lasted, but it felt like the director was like, yeah, beautiful, keep that up on screen while they're throwing the birds over the cameras. That was quite the time. But yeah, just honestly, excellent job from all involved this weekend. The fact that it was so cleanly executed and there was like no technical delays really was, just a brilliant time, and hopefully events in the future can replicate that as much as is possible. So very much interested your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.